the South China Sea has once again become the stage of a high-stakes gamble. This time, the Philippines and the United States have taken a bold step, building new repair and support bases in Palawan, a strategic island province that faces directly toward the disputed waters. For Manila, this is not just about strengthening defense, it's about survival. And for Washington, it's a move that could redefine the balance of power in the Indo-Pacific. But here's the question: will these bases truly protect the Philippines, or will they provoke Beijing into a dangerous escalation? Welcome to Shadows of Strategy, where we uncover the moves, countermoves, and hidden motives shaping our world's geopolitics. At first glance, Palawan might just look like another tropical paradise. White sand beaches, dense jungles, and scattered fishing villages. But zoom out on the map, and you see why the world's powers are suddenly obsessed with it. Palawan stretches along the western edge of the Philippines, with a clear line of sight to the Spratly Islands, a cluster of reefs and rocks that China has turned into fortified outposts. Whoever controls Palawan gains a front-row seat to the most contested maritime zone in Asia. Now the US and the Philippines are upgrading facilities there into forward repair hubs. These aren't massive bases filled with thousands of troops. Instead, they are designed to quietly service ships, drones, and possibly even submarines. The concept is simple: keep the fight going, even if larger bases in Guam or Okinawa come under attack. But let's pause here. Why is Palawan so critical right now? The answer lies in China's growing naval dominance. Over the past decade, Beijing has poured billions into building the world's largest navy. Its warships now regularly patrol near Philippine waters, intimidating local fishermen and pushing Manila's limits. By placing repair hubs in Palawan, the US and the Philippines are sending a direct signal. They are preparing for a drawn-out standoff, one that can't be easily disrupted. Yet, with this gamble comes great risk. China sees every new Philippine facility tied to the US as a betrayal of Manila's promise to keep Southeast Asia independent of major power rivalries. Chinese state media has already blasted the move, calling it a dangerous provocation, and warning that Beijing will not tolerate encirclement. In other words, if Palawan becomes too militarized, it could quickly turn into a frontline target. So, is this about defending the Philippines or drawing it deeper into America's containment strategy against China? For President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., the decision wasn't taken lightly. On one hand, the Philippines depends heavily on Chinese trade and investment. On the other, China's aggressive moves in the South China Sea, like blocking Philippine resupply missions to Ayungin Shoal, have pushed Manila to the edge. Marcos knows that without a credible military deterrent, the Philippines could lose not only its fishing grounds, but also its sovereignty. This is where the US comes in. Under the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, Washington already has access to several bases across the Philippines, but Palawan stands out. It's the closest landmass to China's fortified Spratlys and only a short flight away from Taiwan. By turning it into a repair hub, the US can station surveillance drones, maintain patrol vessels, and provide quick support to forces operating in contested zones. But let's not ignore the bigger picture. This isn't just about Palawan. It's about Washington's grand Indo-Pacific strategy. The US knows that if a conflict erupts with China, especially over Taiwan or the South China Sea, logistics will decide the outcome. China's forces are close to home, while America's are spread across the Pacific. To counter this disadvantage, Washington is weaving a network of smaller, harder-to-target facilities throughout Allied territory. From Palau to Papua New Guinea, and now Palawan. Think of it as building stepping stones across the Pacific, each one ensuring that US forces can keep fighting no matter what. Now, here's the suspense. Will these Palawan bases actually deter China? Or will they make the Philippines the first battlefield? Military analysts are divided. Supporters argue that having US-linked repair hubs strengthens Manila's hand, ensuring that Chinese vessels think twice before acting aggressively. They say that deterrence comes from readiness, and Palawan shows that the Philippines is no longer unprepared. Critics, however, warn that the move could backfire. Well, China may see the construction as a red line crossed and respond with increased naval pressure. Already, Chinese Coast Guard ships are shadowing Philippine patrols more aggressively. The fear is that Palawan could invite more direct confrontations, ones that Manila might not be ready to face alone. And this is where the gamble becomes clear. For the Philippines, aligning too closely with the U.S. risks economic backlash from Beijing. But stepping away risks losing control of its own waters. The choice is brutal: sovereignty or stability. Meanwhile, Washington views Palawan as a piece of a much larger chessboard, with Japan, Australia, and even India strengthening security ties with the U.S. The Philippines becomes the southern anchor of America's containment line against China. If the chain breaks at Palawan, the entire Indo-Pacific strategy could unravel. So what happens next? One scenario is escalation. China could begin to target Philippine supply lines, harass construction, or even declare an exclusion zone near Palawan. Another scenario is deterrence, that the very presence of these facilities forces Beijing to think twice, preventing open conflict. And here's the final twist. The outcome might depend not just on governments, but on ordinary Filipinos. Many support stronger defense ties with the U.S., but others fear their country is being turned into a pawn in a superpower rivalry. Public opinion could pressure Manila to either double down or pull back. At its core, the Palawan bases represent a bold gamble. A gamble that Manila can secure its sovereignty without provoking war. A gamble that Washington can extend its reach without overextending. And a gamble that Beijing, faced with a stronger coalition, will choose restraint over aggression. But in geopolitics, gambles don't always pay off. Sometimes they trigger exactly the crisis they were meant to prevent. The South China Sea is watching. The world is watching. And Palawan, once just a quiet tropical frontier, is now the front line of Asia's most dangerous gamble.